around joy. Today, I'm going to explain Blue Lock Season 3.
We start the Neo-Egoist League arc off with Rin sitting on the shore that he and Sei used to visit. He looks at his phone and sees how much criticism Sei is getting for his last play in the U20 match. Rin then thinks back to that exact moment and says that he definitely had the upper hand there. Rin's offense kept up closely with Sei's when he obeyed his instincts of wanting to destroy him completely and then managed to stop his last play. However, even though he won, he still don't really understand that new side of him. It felt new, but at the same time, nostalgic, almost like his veins were dancing. And on top of that, it seemed like Sei knew that part of Rin. Rin starts to wonder if this was his plan all along, and that Sei always wanted him to bring out this ego. However, none of it matters, as he only recognized Isagi in the end. Anyone can tell at a glance in that match that Isagi gained everything, while Rin was one step short. As Rin is looking out at the sea, he's determined to change and give it his all to destroy both Isagi and Sei. After that, we get to join the household of the Yoichi family, who is proudly replaying Isagi's interview over and over again. As they are getting ready to eat, Isagi's mom asks if life at Blue Lock isn't too difficult for Isagi, and that he's really evolved since joining the program. His dad agrees, and says that even though they don't know a whole lot about football, they are still extremely proud over Isagi. However, if Isagi wins or not isn't their biggest concern, as what makes the two of them glad is seeing Isagi happy. They don't care if he scores or even wins or not, as they will always be there for him, and only wishes him to live his life as he wants to, which makes Isagi extremely happy, as he says that from now on, he will become the best in the world. After dinner, he goes upstairs into his room. He thinks if living the life that you want is what it means to be an egoist. Even though Blue Lock helped him become something that he could never imagine, he still had to leave behind plenty of things and people. In Blue Lock, Isagi was able to learn the excitement of victory and the pleasure of scoring, the happiness of changing the world with his own hands. He sits up in his bed and says that he will do whatever to stay in Blue Lock. Just then, he gets a notification from Blue Lock, telling everyone to get back and to let the next act begin. We can also see Gagamaru just chilling in the woods as he gets his invitations, which is just so hilarious. The next day, all of the players arrive and lets the Blue Lock Project Phase 2 start. As they walked into the building, they are greeted by a bunch of players, kind of like how they were greeted in the first selection arc. But this time, it isn't just the Blue Lock players, as the former U20 players are here too. Isagi asks Aiku why they are here, and Aiku tells him that Ego asked them to. And I love how the first thing Naru and Bachira do is greet each other really happily. It's so cute. After that, Isagi spots Rin against the wall. He goes forward to greet him and says that it wouldn't be Blue Lock if he wasn't there. However, Rin tells him to stop talking to him and asks if he wants to get stabbed. However, before they can go any longer, the bowl cut himself pops up on the screen. He says that from now on, he holds the power of deciding every member of Japan's U20 team. And since he figured that even the losers might have their uses, he decided to invite them as well. Ego says that there are 100 days left before the U20 World Cup, and if they were to take part in it now, it would be simply impossible. Even so, it's not lost just yet, as he says that he's come up with a way to allow them all to evolve at a rapid pace, but before that, he has his annual quiz time, and asks them what the cause for their improvement was. Awakening your ego, becoming aware of your innate weapons, the reason all of that happened was without a doubt due to this environment, this special yet cruel enclosed space called Blue Lock, and to be able to rise to greater heights. A new environment will be needed, and that's why Ego has decided to throw them into the hottest hellfire that exists, because in Blue Lock's Phase 2, they will all be thrown into the peak of the world, which is of course Europe's Big Five leagues. Popularity, ability, and money in these European pro football leagues are at the peak of all these things. Among these 5 countries, each of you is going to choose which environment you want to sharpen yourselves in. But before they can start choosing their league, Ego will give his judgment regarding each league starting with England. A league characterized by speed and physical battles, where goals are stolen by the law of physical prowess. Next up is Spain, a league where technique and creativity are desired. Their citizens won't get satisfied by just seeing goals. It's a place that gathers footballers who want to express creativity and playfulness. After Spain, we have Italy, a league that favors slyness and tactics. They hold history in being able to win 1-0 while holding their defense. A playstyle that fuses individual strength with robust team organization was born here. After them comes France, which is a league that acts as a gateway to success for newcomers and young players. In recent years, their market has received a grand lot of investments, so the money flows constantly. They're currently in a great spot in becoming the greatest league in the world. And to end it all, we have Germany, a league that fundamentally understands that football is a sport that you win by scoring the most goals. They favor getting to victory by logical and rational means. And on top of that, the player who currently holds the title of the best striker in the world, and Isagi's idol Noel Noah, is here. After that, Ego tells them that the survival battle in the new environment you select will double as the final selection for the U20 World Cup as well. And with such an environment being the highest peak of the world, the one thing that will be the key to winning your place among the best will be demonstrated using your uniqueness. Their talents and weapons may have stood out here in Japan, but they will fall to the average level when compared to the world. So what you felt then and what you believe in will serve as a test. And if even then you're still able to show you have value that no one else does, then the world will be waiting for you. This next step they are about to take is a rite of passage to becoming a professional. Therefore, they must accurately visualize what they want to become and then choose the best environment for themselves. For better or worse, this choice is guaranteed to completely derail your life. And then, with 90 minutes left, it was time for them to make a choice that will completely change their life. Igarashi has decided that he wants to go to Germany, Otoya is going to Spain, Ryu is headed to Italy, and Zantetsu has decided on France. And I really hope that we get to see more from him in this arc because I feel like he's a really underrated character who deserves more love. Chigiri looks over at Isagi and asks if he's decided. Isagi says that this is also for national teams, so they have to choose a pro league that they want to learn from, but even then he isn't quite sure. He says that he's been watching a lot of English leagues recently, but as a kid, he always wanted to go to Germany because of Noah. After that, Isagi asks Chigiri if he has decided on a club, and he has decided on England as he wants his own speed to be tested. Ryo overhears them and says that they will be going together as he also chose England because he's fond of a lot of teams there and it also smells like money. Isagi turns around and asks Nagi if he's decided, and he says that he wants to go to the league which Bergkamp is in. However, Chigiri tells him that he's already retired, but tells Nagi that he played with England, and because of that, he's also ready to choose England. After that, Bachira comes and says that he's chosen Spain not to anyone's surprise. However, he says that it doesn't really matter anyway. Isagi is confused and asks what Bachira means. Bachira tells him that he's set on becoming the best striker in the world, so no matter what environment he experiences, all that matters is that he gets to wherever the top is. It's not a matter of making the right choice, and instead making a path for himself, telling Isagi that what he trusts most isn't logic, but his instinct. However, as he leaves, he says that even if they go different paths, it's common courtesy to have evolved by the next time they meet, which is quite sweet. Anyway, thanks to Bachira's words, Isagi has chosen to follow his instincts too, and chooses the place which will make his blood boil the most, and that's none other than Germany. After that, the Germany players move in with each other, and we get a look at who chooses to go the German path. And it's the following: Igarashi, Yukimiya, Hiroi, Raichi, Gagamaru, Neru, Corona, Kiora, and of course Isagi. By the way, a hot take. I would love to see more of Kiora, as he seems like such a cool character, so I really hope that they show him off more and at least something in this arc. Anyway, the players enters a dark room and sees a hologram of Ego. Ego says that the team that's currently the strongest in Germany is Bastard Munchen, and they will get the opportunity to play with the team's U20 players and train with them. Igarashi is hyped that they will be going to Germany. However, Ego stops him in his tracks and says that the environment of the Big Five European leagues will be recreated right here in bluelock. And to serve that purpose, he's invited players their age, who currently plays for the strongest teams in 5 big leagues, from England's Manchester City, Italy's Ubers, Spain's FC Barça, France's Paris X-Gen, and Germany's Bastard Munchen. The Blue Lock players' next goal will be to win in this environment, and the one who will be guiding you all won't be Ego himself, but instead the ace strikers who reign over each of these top teams. The Blue Lock players are able to see silhouettes of the players as Ego introduces the ace of Bastard Munchen and the master striker Noel Noah. Ego says that thanks to the result of the match with Japan's U20, Blue Lock has gained the attention of the entire world, and this pipe dream of his has caught the attention of greedy sponsors, which has made Phase 2 better than he could have imagined. But all of this isn't just limited to Germany, as a master striker has been gathered in each stratum. After that, he introduces all of the master strikers, starting with England's Chris Prince, who is considered to be a striker on par with Noah. Spain has got Lavinho, the genius dribbler of Spain's league. From Italy, we have Snuffy, who is said to be Uber's secret to success. And not to mention France's Loki, the #1 supernova, who football fans around the world have their eyes on. They'll each guide their players on their own philosophy, and they will all evolve in that environment, whether they want that or not. So how will this work, you may ask? Well, firstly, you will train under the master, to then possibly be chosen for the regulars. So you really must show your value to be chosen for a team mixed with the 11 members that were brought from the original team. After that, the 11 chosen will play in matches where the opponents will be the other teams, and therefore a league will be formed with those 5 teams, and you will have the chance to fight against new players, but also teammates who chose different leagues. In the matches, there are some rules. For example, it's the first to 3 goals that win, and 2 infinite substitutions exist. And now the most exciting feature of them all is that the masters are allowed to sub in for 3 minutes. Even though this is extremely hype for the players, they can't forget that this is the final selection for the team that's going to the U20 World Cup. And depending on how the matches go, after each one of them, the ranks could completely change. Ego says that this is exactly what he's been dreaming of. A fight to create the best striker in the world, calling it a battle for survival in the new generation and the creation of a football never seen in history before. Isagi is stunned to get the chance to learn from Noah himself, and even playing with him will definitely help him reach new levels. He's now on the path of becoming the best striker in the world. However, before he can calm down, Ego says that he forgot to say something. He says that on Bastard Munchin's team, there's going to be another player who he just had to personally include. All of the Blue Lock players that are already here have taken the proper path. However, Ego also prepared a hidden path for those who were defeated and forced different philosophies upon them. And he's now chosen to bring back the monster born out of that path. The doors open and he calls out the only survivor of the wild card and the final dark horse, which is none other than the man himself, Kunigami Rensuke. And with that, Blue Lock Phase 2 can officially begin. As Ego leaves, he says that he leaves everything to Noah, and just then, some sort of door opens up to what looks like a cybernetic world. Noah tells them in Germany to proceed to the goal and that he will be waiting there as he leaves them. The Blue Lock players quickly understand that they will have to race against the German players to see who arrives faster. Isagi goes forward to Kunigami and says that he knew that he would come back and says that it's nice to have the superhero here. However, Kunigami tells him to quit it and that he doesn't call himself that childish name anymore, as he tells Isagi to get ready because the one who will be the best in the world will be him. Isagi is shocked to see Kunigami so changed, however he can't do anything else but to fight. And then the training starts. They start with some running, and Isagi notices that Kunigami is much faster now, and that his physical specs are way higher now. As they come to the second zone, they have to sprint up a very steep road. Isagi is amazed at how the German players can keep up with this, and wonders if they really are the same age as them. Even so, he's determined to not fall behind, as he gets through Zone 3 easily. However, in Zone 4 he's facing some problems, as he's having a hard time keeping up, and says that the only one able to keep up is Kunigami. Just then, he sees that someone named Kaiser has already finished. He arrives at the final zone, and will do everything to prove his worth. He gets behind the hinders easily, and aims at the highest score possible. But just as he shoots, he hears someone speaking in German, saying that he's been waiting to meet Isagi. He shots the ball at Isagi's ball, and no, not those balls. Isagi is amazed that he managed to block his shot, but just then, the mysterious man introduces himself as Kaiser, who does the impossible, as he tells Blue Lock to kneel for him. Just unfortunate that Isagi didn't understand any of that, as he was speaking in German. Isagi recognizes Kaiser right off the bat as one of the new Gen 11. But just then, someone else comes. He tells Kaiser that they can understand him, and gives the Blue Lock players a special Micro interpreter, which is a gift that helps them understand each other. After that, when they can understand each other, the guy introduces himself as Alexis Ness. But the Blue Lock players are to focus on their headphones, and notice that they are built by Rio's family. Suddenly, someone else joins in. It's Eric Gesner, who tells Ness to stop being so polite, and that they are only here because they were told that Blue Lock was amazing. After that comes Benedict Grimm, who's acting like he's in a school play, kind of like Are You actually. After that, Isagi looks away for less than 1 second, but just as he does so, Kaiser drags him closer to him, as if he were in a K-drama. He tells Isagi that he came here to meet him, Blue Lock's own ace striker, and tells Isagi to not disappoint him. Isagi tries to get free, but then Kaiser uses his full force to what it looks like pin Isagi against the wall. He tells Isagi to shut his mouth, and to give him a reason not to feel like coming here was a waste of time, saying that he wants Isagi to get into his life. Finally, Isagi agrees, and says that he will do as Kaiser says. He will gladly destroy his life. Kaiser then asks Ness to give him a tissue, as he owns him or something. Anyway, Ness asks Kaiser what Isagi's title would be. Kaiser says that until he takes his place on the stage as the world's best striker, and now that he's stuck in this jock of an interlude called Blue Lock, The other players are the circus animals that provide some entertainment, but when he takes the stage, it makes Isagi into the pathetic clown who thought he was the star. But just then, Noah comes and tells Kaiser to knock it off, calling it childish. Kaiser tries to argue, but Noah tells him to not talk back, and that it's him that makes the rules here. After that, Noah says that their initial training is done. Noah states that this room was designed to measure their physical abilities, due to Bastard Munchin's philosophy being that of extreme rationality. Noah doesn't put any stock on the invisible powers known as impression or emotion, but instead only thinks with logic and numbers, saying that the 21 players here will be ranked based on training and gameplay data, which will give the top 11 the chance to play in the next match. Isagi realizes that this is a game of data survival, where numbers are everything. He also says that he's in a pinch due to him being rock bottom on the leaderboard. None of the Blue Lock players managed to snatch a place in the top 12, or except one, the newly founded weapon Kunigami, who got a third place in the rankings, followed by Ness in second place and Kaiser in first. Even though Isagi is at rock bottom, he's determined to rise through the ranks to then drag down Kaiser from his throne. After that, Isagi and the players start their training. They only have 10 days left until the first match, and have to follow Noah's designated training every day. Not to mention that each time the ranking changes, they swing between hope and fear as they battle to get into the top 11. Isagi knows that he won't get to play unless he can make it into the top 11, so he's got no even Noah himself. After that, we jump right into the first of many thrilling Neo Egoist League matches. And we're starting it off with a bang, as FC Barca is facing off against Bastard Munchin. As the FC Barca players enter the field, Otoya and Bachira spots Isagi on the bench, and Bachira says that he's going ahead. Isagi thinks back to the 10 days of training leading up to this, and says that he wasn't able to reach the top 11 regulars, and out of everyone in Blue Lock, the only one who was chosen was the wild card himself, Kunigami. Isagi is both angry and pissed at every single second he was to spend on the bench. He wants to be on the pitch and burn his presence into the players' minds. And just then, the match starts. Kaiser and Ness begin their honeymoon phase as they pass each other. Ness spots Grim on the other side and passes him a super clean vertical pass right between Barca's players. Grim uses his brute force to get behind not one, but two players from Barca, and then when he gets his chance, he passes the ball to the other side, into the legs of Eric Gensa. Isagi is stunned as he is looking at their play, saying that Eric is outstanding at trapping, and says that he threads the needle with his delicate dribbling, which is such an over-explained way of saying things. Eric looks into the box and decides to pass Kunigami even though he's being surrounded by defenders. The ball is approaching, and so is Kaiser. Kaiser is in a perfect position to receive a pass from Kunigami. However, he instead decides to trap the ball with his chest to forcibly keep it. He moves forward while he pushes the defenders back, and then shoots an incredible shot with his left leg trademark. The ball is going at an impressive speed. However, the Barca goalkeeper managed to reach it in time and save it. Isagi is still just watching from the sidelines, but he compliments Kunigami, saying that he's evolving at an incredible speed, and that he's drastically boosted all of his physical abilities, which has given him the freedom to be able to score a goal from anywhere on the pitch, calling Kunigami the perfect striker without any weaknesses. The ball is still in play, and Barca decides to counter, but as Kunigami runs back, Ness stops him. He asks Kunigami what he's trying to do, and that if he had passed to Kaiser, they would have scored. Even so, Kunigami doesn't give a shit, and says that he will follow his own way of dominance, telling Ness to go and bark up another tree. This upsets Ness, and he grabs Kunigami, telling him with a smile that a violation of loyalty to Kaiser is his first yellow card. After that, we go into something more interesting, as Blue Lock's own little monster gets the ball and says that it's showtime. He also says that it's time to raise the BPM before thinking about what football he shall dance. However, before that, we go into a flashback and turn back 10 days to when the Blue Lock players first get introduced to Lavinho. Otoya asks him if this is for real, and if Lavinho will teach them football. Lavinho says that he's their master, however he will not teach them football. He laughs and says that this place was built to make the best striker in the world, but he is already the best, so why would he give out any hints? Even so, Bachira asks him if Noah isn't the best striker in the world. This upsets Lavinho, who asks him if he's trying to pick a fight. He then says that he doesn't care what anyone says because he knows that he's the best. Lavinho then goes off and says that he has something inside him. It's something that others can't see, but instead, an image that exists within him alone. He then takes the ball and says that if you want to become the best, then you can't just do as you're told. Back in Brazil, they have a word called ginga, which means something like shaky or swaying. It comes from capoeira, which is a mix between dancing and martial arts. He tells them that you can start out by copying other strong dudes and then try to mix it up and create their own image of the best in the world, saying that their original style starts there. Lavinho himself uses the image of a butterfly as he dances on the field. He ends it by saying that football is all about improvising at the moment. It's about stealing the rhythm to one that pleases you. Then Bachira jumps in and steals the ball, and I love Otoya. He's like Bachira's own hype man. After that, Bachira gets to see how his movements look like. He says that he should try to copy Lavinho's movements and then mix that up with his own image of the world's best. So he begins his training with some hard work and meditation. After that, when Bachira and Lavinho are alone, Bachira tells him that he can also see a thing which he calls his monster. However, Bachira is unsure what to do with it, as he got stronger by overcoming it. But what image should he come up with now? Lavinho asks if the monster is still there, and Bachira says that he can bring it up again if he wants to. Lavinho then says that it's easy, and that Bachira has to evolve that monster to the next level. Bachira's monster is his own guide to his originality, and will lead to him reaching the spot as the world's best. After that, we get back to the game where Bachira is absolutely crushing an opponent. Igarashi and Hiroi are amazed, but Isagi is focused on something else as he says that he feels that Bachira's dribbling posture has changed. It now feels like he's spending less energy. He's moving the ball around with his foot practically glued to it. Even so, his ball touches do very little movement to his actual center of gravity, which makes him a lot more stable. Another one from Bastard Munchin goes to stop Bachira and says that even though he has infinite options to dribble to, he's still not moving forward. He gets impatient and decides to go in himself, but because of that, he gets absolutely demolished, as he was the first one to taste Bachira's new dribble style, his Ginga X Monster style. But then another threat comes around as Kunigami comes to stop him. However, Bachira is hyped up as he tells them to go, and even calls Kunigami the wild hero. However, before they go at each other, Bachira tells Kunigami that it's nice to see him again, but Kunigami just rushes at him, saying that he will take the lead. Bachira tries to shake off Kunigami with some dribbles, but Kunigami is steadily following. Bachira then swings wide with a double touch, which then leads into another double touch. However, this one is much faster than the last one, which makes him get behind Kunigami in no time. After Kunigami stands both Grim and Eric, but they are nothing to Bachira, who makes a beautiful back heel pass to Ignacio Lala on the left wing, who right away passes it away to Otoya in the box. The ball falls down and leads on his heel, which he uses to continue the attack, and passes it back to Bachira, who's by his side. Bachira jumps up and does an outstanding goal, which gives FC Barca a 1-goal lead. Isagi is watching from the benches, and says that FC Barca really is a free and amusing team, that lets the players play as they want. Both Ignacio and Otoya go to celebrate with Bachira, which is kind of sweet. They all look so happy. As Isagi was able to analyze Bachira from the bench, he says that Bachira's dribbling has clearly evolved, saying that Bachira is now able to just do what he wants, and says that he attacks like a child, which is also quite sweet. Even so, Bachira also has his adult side, where he waits for his opponent, and makes a move based on that. Bachira is only able to play like this thanks to FC Barca's carefree and fun environment. Isagi then compares it with Ego's speech, and says that this was what he meant. However, if that's the case, then what is it that he's supposed to learn from his environment? Bastard Munchin's style is rationality, and judging from the other series of plays earlier, they basically cut off every unnecessary move and get in front of the goal by using the shortest possible distance. Isagi thinks about what he would do if he were to get subbed in right now. Should he stick to the role of connecting with Kaiser? No, that's not going to work, as he doesn't possess any individual skills that Grim and Eric don't have already. But if he were to ignore their rule and play for the sake of his own goal, he might just end up getting ignored like Kunigami is. After that, he overhears Igarashi and Hiroi talking. Igarashi says that Kunigami is going to be substituted any second now, as it's completely a one-man egocentric play. Hiroi agrees and says that it's damaging the team's rationality. Igarashi is really out here thinking that he will get subbed in. Keep wishing, bro. Isagi goes back to his little mind and says that even if he were to get subbed in now, he's no idea what to do. Up until now, he's only been able to fight this far because of bluelock's ego mindset and rules. But now it's different, as he has to fit into the Bastard Munchin system. It's already hard getting in with just numbers, but now he has to change his style as well. He looks over at Kunigami and says that his existence is for sure a hint for him to be able to get into the spot of the regulars. And then the match was back. Ness asks Kaiser what they are going to do now, and Kaiser coldly tells him that they will execute them. They start their 1-2s with each other, and flawlessly get behind 3 of FC Barca's players, including Bachira. Isagi is in shock. He says that Ness is really good and that his ankles are really flexible. He then compliments Kaiser for moving up to the perfect position to create a pass course, while Ness stays at the perfect distance to pass at any time. And with his ankle technique, he's able to easily switch directions past an opponent, calling Ness the beating heart of Bastard Munchen. Reichi is pissed at the bench and says that if he also had an impressive midfielder behind him, he would be able to score up to 1,000,000 goals, saying that Kaiser is just blessed by this system. Isagi agrees to an extent and says that the team is moving by doing rational plays. However, ever since this match started, Kaiser's movements haven't had a single second to waste. He's been moving as bait, positioning to receive the ball and breaking out for a shooting course. The way Kaiser moves, it's almost like he's embodying Isagi's ideal movements. They have finally reached the critical point of the field, and just then, all of Bastard Munchen moves up, which gives Ness infinite cross possibilities, which makes it so that the defenders can't even imagine what comes next. And then Ness shoots his cross. The ball goes of course to Kaiser, who's been hiding stealthily in the infinite options within the most efficient spot. However, it's not as easy for Kaiser as it sounds as the man, the myth and the legend Batira comes behind him. Kaiser takes his hand and tries to push him back. Even so, Batira is still holding on. The ball goes down, and Kaiser starts off with a fake out, which disturbs their movements. And then right as he gets his chance, he uses his Kaiser impact to shoot the ball right away. The ball is flying so fast that the goalkeeper has no chance of reacting, and with that, he makes the scores even. Isagi is amazed and calls Kaiser a genius, saying that unlike Bachira, Nagi, or even Rin, on the field, he's a genius of extended plays. Kaiser is able to embody his ideal form, but it's not even that anymore because he's already managed to surpass that. Noah gets up and says that Kaiser's right foot kick that uses all of his body at once to execute, calling Kaiser the fastest in the world when it comes to the swing, which is the one thing he beats Noah in. This makes Isagi wonder if he's been thinking about it all wrong. The foundation of Bastard Munchen's hyper-rationality isn't the players around him, but it's Kaiser's ability itself that is the philosophy of the team. If all the goals are scored with Kaiser impact, an absolute rationality without any inefficiency would be created in the team, the method of turning 0 into 1. Isagi then thinks back to Ego, saying that it's just as he mentioned before, that an original striker with an overwhelming 0 to 1 is here. But does this mean that Kaiser is the embodiment of bluelock's ideals of having the world's best qualities? Kaiser is walking beside Bachira, and he tells him that it was to be expected that the world was filled with nasty egos. Bachira looks back and says that Kaiser is the best, and that's why he will crush him. However, just then, someone rises himself from the seat. He says that he wasn't planning to come out, but even so, he's ready to use his 3 minutes. And it's of course the man himself, Lavinho, who gets out and goes to join the battle. This shocks everyone who wasn't ready for Lavinho to come out. However, someone quickly goes to the counter, and it's Noah who says that Lavinho is still as immature as always, as he takes off his jacket and goes to join in as well. They go forward to each other and face off, which actually looks so incredibly cool, with both Noah and Lavinho facing off, and not to mention Kitsunezato and Hayate being two hype men, as they always are. Noah looks furiously into Lavinho's eyes and says that he lost to Noah last year, but Lavinho just calls Noah's football boring and too rational, saying that his heart goes out to his apprentices. Even so, Noah just tells him that his team is filled with children without a proper adult, which funny enough makes Lavinho turn into a child. After that, Noah turns to Kunigami and asks to hear his theory, saying that to fight on this team, one of the options in the attacks is centralized with Kaiser. And if you don't want to do that, then you will have to show that your abilities surpass Kaiser. However, Kunigami managed to fail in both of them, and on top of that, he's got nothing to say in his defense. Noah then turns to the players and says that the opposite of chance is a pinch, and if you miss the chance that's in front of you, you will then fall into a pinch, which is equal to a missed opportunity. But that's only because the risk and return are equal. He goes back to Kunigami and tells him that he's failed and is being put on the bench for a better player who is none other than Isagi Yoichi. This makes Four Eyes angry, and he goes to argue right away. He asks Noah to give him an explanation, and that when it comes to training numbers, he is better. Even so, the world has to get what they want, and that is Isagi. Isagi's chance has finally come, and he will now make his debut match and dive into the field of superstars. And with that, the two teams get ready and then quickly start the game. Lavinho has the ball, and Noah goes to stop him right off the bat. Lavinho tries to throw him off, but it's the best player in the world we are talking about here. Isagi is looking from the side and says that there is no way for him to keep up, calling it a battle of the gods. Even so, it's not like he just wants to give up and let them have their fun, because he finds a space that he thinks he can use to help Noah. However, as he gets closer, Lavinho does a rainbow flick, and then uses Isagi as a block to get past Noah. Igarashi is screaming from the bench, but it's not like he could have done any better. Noah quickly asks Isagi if he knows why Lavinio is called the Dance Man. However, Isagi has no idea, so Noah explains that he's the best in the world at taking his opponents by surprise. However, those magnificent steps are not the origin of that name, as the players who are led by his dribbles seem like they're dancing as they topple down. While Noah is giving his explanation, we can see Lavinio absolutely destroying the bastard Munchin's defense. He gets to the goalkeeper and jumps over him to then get to the finishing line and backheel the ball into the goal, making FC Barca take the lead in this game and also telling everyone to dance till they die, and then calls them cripples randomly. Just standard Lavinio. With Lavinio calling everyone cripples, he got Bachira to fanboy over him to then call him a god. We then get this wholesome panel of FC Barca celebrating together. After that, Kaiser goes over to Isagi and says that he really screwed up there. This makes Isagi mad and says he couldn't get in either. However, Kaiser tells him that he's wrong and that he chose not to, saying that he and Bachira were waiting for a chance where either of them seemed off rhythm. Any other timing and they would just be a nuisance dragging the two down. He asks Isagi how he could be so lowly to not understand such a thing, calling him an overly self-conscious clown. Kaiser walks away and Isagi stays behind thinking that he can't get into the game. However, he can't just give up and tell himself that there's a gap in ability between him and the Masters, and to leave a trace of his existence, he will have to score his own goal and says that he will devour the superstars. And just like that, the game is back in action. Ness and Kaiser start off passing to each other, while Isagi thinks that the only way to steal a goal in this team would be to find a better position than Noah, and then patiently wait for a pass there. But just then, Noah starts to speed up and accelerates behind a bunch of FC Barca players. Ness sees him speeding up and passes him. He gets the ball and embarrasses another FC Barca player. As Isagi is trying his best to keep up with Noah's play, he finally realizes that it's impossible for the current him to find a better position than Noah. Noah keeps on destroying until Lavinio goes to stop him. However, Noah gets over him surprisingly easily. Even so, he gets stopped by the other players, which gives Lavinio time to get up again, to then bash into Noah's strong body. However, Noah uses this to his advantage and gets on top of Lavinio, to then use his ability of being ambidextrous to shoot a power shot with his left leg. The ball has incredible speed as it goes into the goal and makes the scores even, and making the last goal more important than ever before. Isagi thinks back to Noah's outstanding goal and says that a person completely ambidextrous is really rare to see and happens to less than 1% of humans. But with Noah's insane performance comes also a tragedy, as the 3 minutes have passed and both of the masters have to go out. As Noah is going back to his seat, he looks at Kunigami and says that it's time for him again. He asks if Kunigami thinks that he can trace Noah's movements after seeing it live, also calling him the wild card's copyman. As Noah is getting to his seat, he tells both Isagi and Kunigami that this is the last chance for both of them and says that if they disappoint, then they can get replaced at any time, telling them to prove themselves with numbers. And then, the rivalry of the last goal starts between Kunigami and Isagi. As they are walking onto the pitch, Isagi asks Kunigami what Noah meant when he called him a copyman. Kunigami asks why it would matter to Isagi, but he tells him that he want to know what happened at the wild card so that he can beat him. Kunigami explains that the wild card was an experiment to create a vessel and someone with the same physique as Noah. A physique that would be the same as the best player in the world. Isagi is shocked and asks how it worked. However, Kunigami says that it doesn't matter and tells him that it's not like anyone on this team is going to pass to him, telling Isagi that he should worry about himself more. And then the final stretch starts as FC Barca starts with the ball. Isagi goes to block Bachira, but gets hit with his incredibly fast stepovers. But before he can do anything, Bachira passes to Otoya and then manages to get behind Isagi. However, behind Isagi comes Grim, who's fast on the attack and gets help from Kunigami. But not even the two of them can stop Bachira when he's starting his dance. But someone who can is Ness, who's been hiding in the dark and has waited for the right moment to strike. He gets the ball and begins the counterattack of Bastard Munchin. Isagi knows that Ness will try to pass to Kaiser, so as the ball is getting closer to Kaiser, he gets in the way and hijacks the pass. However, he's in a very bad position to score from, and only has a total of 2% goal percentage. He tries to think about what to do, but the FC Barca players are pushing him fast, and he has no way to react, so he ends up taking the shot anyway, which sadly gets blocked. Even though he managed to get the ball, he was left with no ideas from that point on, and to begin with, that pass from Ness was perfected for the purpose of letting Kaiser score. So even if he were to get the ball again, without Kaiser's weapon, it's useless, as this isn't a range that you can score from without Kaiser's impact. The ball finally lands in the hands of Grimm, and Isagi tries to get him to play together, but he quickly gets ignored. He knows that now more than ever, he needs to find a new way to score because if he fails, then this match ends. And if the match were to end, then he's failed at proving the worth of his existence. The only way he could turn this around is if he listened to ego and tries his best to get into flow state and then find a way to score the finishing goal. Grimm is quickly advancing through the left side. He looks into the box and sees Kunigami trying his best to block of Kaiser. This makes it impossible for Grimm to pass Kaiser, so he turns to his other option, which is Ness. However, before the ball actually reaches Ness, our main man Isagi comes and steals it again, making it 2-0 for Isagi versus Ness. Even so, Isagi is facing trouble right off the bat as Bachira goes to cover him, saying that stealing the ball from his teammate is so like him, which is quite funny in a way. However, both Bachira and Isagi know that he has no way of scoring from that angle. As Isagi does a fake shot to get Bachira off balance, he says that he can't see his own goal, but this is his only option to devour Kaiser, even if it means abandoning his own goal. It looks like Isagi is trying